Right, we're looking at trying to draw the tool post for the lathe on Onshape, and getting off started in Onshape sometimes is a bit difficult until you learn the basics, and then you'll suddenly find you pick up very quickly. Okay, so let me just check first of all. If you go to your name at the top here, go to my account, go to preferences, and make sure you're in millimeters by here. Okay, go back into your Onshape account a second, and go back to the drawing that I was just working on, which is there. Just making sure that we're working in the right units. Right, first thing you got to do, choose a work plane that you're going to draw on. So look, I've clicked on the top work plane there and it goes orange. I could just as easily click on the work plane in the tree by here. Okay, so it's useful to use the tree. We'll come more and more into how the tree is useful as we go along. Right, so that's my drawing board. Now I need to put a piece of paper on top of it. So if I go to sketch button, I'm now in sketch 1. Right. Good habit to do is to get used to labeling your sketches. So if I call this base geometry, start. Don't tick that tick just yet because it'll kick us out of the sketch. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into a view where I'm looking straight down on it. So I press the N button and I'm able to look straight down to the sketch. So I'm going to start off with a rectangle. My rectangle's up in my draw buttons, and if I look in rectangle, I want to look for a center point rectangle. Now the dot in the middle is the origin, okay? It's where all of my views meet. So always start from the origin is a good idea. So I'm going to draw a rectangle from the origin, and I'm going to dimension it. So that's going to be 90 millimeters, hit enter. And this is going to be 30 millimeters, hit enter. So that's the base footprint shape of my tool post holder. Right, next thing I need to do is to draw the dovetail slot that goes through it. So I'm going to use an offset button for this. Click on the offset button, click on the edge that you want to draw parallel to. Now it thinks I want to draw that direction, but I want to draw the other way. So click on the arrow, then hit the enter button once and type in 10, hit the enter button again. Right, so that's an offset or parallel line 10 millimeters away from the first one. Now I'm going to grab my point button and I'm going to draw a point on the one side, a point on the other side. Okay, so these points are not dimensioned at the moment. So my next step is to dimension the points. I'm going to click on a point, I'm going to click on the center line and pull away. Right, my first one needs to be 15 millimeters and my second one needs to be 20 millimeters. Next thing, grab a line. Join the point to the point. That's one half of my dovetail. The other half is symmetrical. So best thing to do here is to grab your mirror button. Select the mirror line. Well, that's our center line in the middle. And then select that diagonal line and that'll draw my other line across. Pick up the scissors and snip the bits of line that we don't need away. Okay, there is my shape that I need for my extrude. So I can extrude from within a sketch, or I can accept the sketch and now do an extrude. So click on my extrude. The height of this piece is 45 millimeters, and you're going to put new material in. So here we go. Click on the bit that you want to extrude, and then tick to accept that feature. So I can see I've got a sketch called base geometry, and I've got a feature called extrude. Now I can rename that feature if I want to, and I can call that base block or something to remember. So now I need to put a square slot through the side of this piece. I'm going to click on that side face there, do a sketch, click on N to view onto the sketch, pick up my point, drop a point onto this edge, use my dimension button, click on the point, click on the base, pull across. This needs to be 10. Okay, now I'm going to draw the rest of that slot in. So I'm going to go horizontal. Now you have to be careful now. When you pull lines, look, you get these indicators. They call them attractor points, right? And that one there is a little symbol of 90 degrees. So if you click there, you know that that line is 90 degrees. That's a 10. So vertical, look, it's pre-highlighted the line on the left and give me a parallel sign. Well, it's gone now, but there was one before. Right, the vertical straight line is a horizontal line. That one's got to be 20. And then I'm going to go back to the original and press the escape button to get out of the line. Okay, there's my shape I want to do. So I'm going to go back to my extrude. Don't forget you can do it within a sketch. Now, if you show it the place that you want to do, it thinks you want to add the material, but in fact we want to remove the material. I could, if I wanted to, type in 90 millimeters like that. but it's probably just as easy to go through all and then click OK. So there is my geometry accurately drawn out for the shape. So in the last section we saw how we could make the geometry to create this block. And now I'm going to use some things like the hole wizard to create some features in the block. So I've got 4 M5 holes to put in the top and one large M10 hole in the center. So I'll start with the M5 holes. So select the surface that you're going to use for your sketch. Click to do a new sketch. Good technique here is to press the N key to view normal to the sketch, 90 degrees to the sketch. And now we're just going to use the point tool to create 2 points. Just don't need to be accurately placed. We're going to dimension them now. So next thing, click on dimension button, click on the first dot you created in a line. You can dimension that one to be 6 millimeters, and the second one you want to have as 25 millimeters. Okay, now the distance away from the edge you want it to be 5 millimeters. Same with this one at the top, 5 millimeters. Okay, that's enough for our sketch. So on our sketch now all I have is 2 dots, 6 mil from the edge, 25 mil from the edge, and 5 mil from this long edge. And now I need to pick up my hole wizard. My hole wizard is at the top here, and I need to put in some parameters for my hole. So the hole is an M5 metric 5 millimeter hole, and I'm going to put it on this dot, and I'm going to put it on this dot. Okay, let's have a closer look here. See where it says clearance? That would be for the bolt to fly straight through. I want to have space to cut a thread into the hole, so I'm going to put a tapped hole in, and you can see the hole goes smaller. Okay, now next job, look, I have got there a hole that goes through the top section, but that's more by good luck than anything else, really. Look what happens if I press through. So the hole goes straight through the base. I certainly don't want that. So I do want blind, but let's just see how we could get that so it was doing exactly what we wanted. So what I'm going to do is, rather than go blind, I'm going to actually put in a distance for it to run through. So where it's got 15.1, I'm going to put in 18 millimeters. I know that's going to go the right distance into the material. Okay, so there's 2 holes there, and in my tree now I've got a hole added to there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mirror those. So I'm going to go over to my mirror button, and rather than doing a part mirror, I'm going to do a feature mirror, and I'm going to pick up, where it's asked me which features do I want to mirror, I'm going to pick up the hole from the tree. Mirror plane, I'm going to look at the vertical mirror plane that goes through the origin, and that's going to draw me the other holes identical on the other side of the block. Okay, so next job, we've got another hole to put in the middle. So let's do another new sketch in the middle. And for this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up an inference point. So when you hover over a line, you'll get these attractor points, which will allow you to draw lines without having to measure anything. So that line that I've just drawn there goes exactly halfway along the block. And I want my point for this bit here to be right in the middle of that line. Let's just do this in a clever way. Okay, so I'm going to draw a point on that line, anywhere on that line. Okay, so just down there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my constraints toolbar, and I'm going to click on the midpoint constraint, click on the dot, click on the line, and I'll nudge that dot to be right in the middle. Okay, escape my sketch, and I can see I've still got that dot there. Pick up the hole wizard again, and in the hole wizard this time we want to have an ISO tapped M10 hole, much bigger this time around, and the pitch is going to be 1.5 millimeters. Okay, so click on the dot. That's going to create me my M10 hole. Okay, so you can see now when I pan underneath, that hole's gone down too far into the shape. Okay, I don't want to go right through like that. Look what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Hidden Edges Visible View, so I get a kind of ghosted view there of my shape, and I'm going to mess around now with the depth that hole is going into. So if I go to Edit, and I'm going to look at that feature, and I'm only going to drop that hole down 15 millimeters. In fact, 15 is too long there, so I'm going to try 10 millimeters there. Okay, so the hole goes in 10 millimeters, which looks about right to me. Right, the depth of the thread that goes into the hole we'll have as 7mm, that's fine, and that's all good to go. Right, so go back into shading with hidden lines. Let's see that. So they are, my block is now threaded up with the holes that go through for the clamp for the tool bit, and then this big hole in the center which is used to raise and lower the tool post holder using a knurled finger screw. All right. Okay, I'm going to talk you through how to go from your 3D model into a set of 2D, what we call orthographic drawings. So orthographic drawings are just separate views of the object that you've created with technical information included. So you get on the plus button at the bottom, and you look at the button that says Create Drawing. When we set the drawing up, we've got a few things to look at. We want to click on the Custom Template button, then try ISO, set the size of your page up. Well, I'm going to go for an A4 page because this tool post isn't too big. I click on the third angle projection symbol, and I'm going to click on Do Not Include a Border. Okay, click OK, and it'll take a little bit of time to generate you a blank page. Now, once you get your blank page, it's already going to try and give me some tips as to what I want to do, but I'm just going to close those off a second, right? So my blank page is set up quite formally, okay? There's things in here that you need to make sure are included. So you've got title block at the bottom down here, and you can fill in details on the title block. So for example, the title of your drawing, you can put in as lathe tool post. Oh, sorry, I've got my caps lock on. Look, lathe tool post. You can change the size of that drawing of that writing if you want to. You could make it slightly bigger for this one. I'm going to make it 5mm and bold, and OK that. So you can put in details such as your name in here. It might actually give you your name here already. You can put tolerances. You can put what materials made from and the finish and things like that. So there's your title block. Also gives you a page where you can insert your view. So let's get on with that. So what we need is 3 views in orthographic. So you go up to this button that says Insert View. So there are a few different things we can explore down here, but we're starting with Insert View. Okay, click on the Insert button, and you've got the drawings that you've created. So I think Part Studio 2 is where I'm looking. They are. So if you click on Part Studio 2 and bring this in, it'll start to create for you a view of your object. If you don't like that view that's generated for you, you can choose a different view. But I think I'm going to go with the view it gave me. So I think that was my front view, was it? Yeah. Okay, so 1:1, what does that mean as well? Okay, that's scale. So it'll tell me automatically whether it thinks it needs to shrink the object down to half size, or whether I can include it full size in the drawing. In this instance, like we said, full size will fit on there quite nicely. So I'm going to have one view drop by here. Now, I'm on a mode called projected view. So what happens is, if I just hover to the right-hand side of that view, it's going to create me what it'll see if it looks from the right. So it's third angle projection, so it's giving me a view that looks like that. Okay, I want another view above it. So if I click on the parent view and go above, it'll create me a plan view of the object. So that now, right, let's press the escape button, is 3 views in what we call orthographic projection. Okay, let's see what other details we can put into our drawings. If I click on this view down here, right click on it, and then go Show Hide, Hidden Lines, I can add in the details that you can't see because they're inside or behind where you're viewing from. So that's quite nice. Now, this view down here, I'm going to delete for a second. I'm going to change that view to what we call a section view. So for a section view, you can choose a vertical, horizontal, or angular section plane. We're going to leave it in vertical. And all I need to do now is pick up a point where I want to slice the object through. Now drag to the side, and I should get a nice cutaway view through the object that shows me what I would see if I sliced that in the middle. Okay, a couple of little things I don't like now. We're in that drawing format. That means that we have got certain standards applied to our drawing. I'm going to go to Edit Hatch a second, and I want to pick up this hatch in the middle here. I don't like this broken hatching line, so what I'm going to do is click on the ANSI button and have it so it's solid hatching lines. Okay, so look what I've got there now. I've got a front elevation, front view, I've got a plan view, I've got an end elevation. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to label those views up, okay? This is called my front elevation. This one is called my plan view. Just call it a plan. This one is my end elevation, but it's a cutaway view. So we call it a sectional end elevation. You've got to say which plane you cut on. So I've cut on a plane called AA. Okay, so if I double click on that again in a minute, and I stretch this out, I should be able to get it all to go on one line. Okay, that's labeled my section plane, but I don't need that section plane labeled now because I've done it in my view label. Okay, so what else can I add to that drawing? Well, I should add some stuff to it, such as, for example, dimensions. So when you dimension a drawing, you're going to use a dimension wizard, and you're going to start adding some sizes. Now, be very careful, okay? In the CAD part of your folder, you will see that I've put in the standards called BS A8 A8, and they're very, very clear about how you add dimensions to drawings. You're not meant to run dimensions through each other. So put your biggest dimensions at the top, stagger your other ones inside it. You can't put too many dimensions in a drawing. Well, you can, I guess. But you have to be careful that you don't over-dimension a drawing, and also don't leave the user to try and work out dimensions, okay? So also, if a dimension is going to fit inside in between lines, so if it's a small size, then if it's under 9 millimeters, or 9 millimeters or under, then the dimension should go outside the object, outside the line like that. Okay, so you've got to put your dimensions in so that we can see how this object is going to fit together. Now, there are some other dimensions that you can put in there quite cool, such as, for example, information dimensions. So if you go to the whole dimension, which is up by here, the whole call out, if you click on this hole here, for example, and pull up, so what this does is it tells us information such as the diameter of that hole is 8.5. We know it's a tapping diameter for M10. So the hole's 8.5. And this little sign here, this line with the arrow coming from it, is depth dimension. So that goes in 10 millimeters, that hole. And then cut into that hole, into the 8.5 hole, is an M10 thread with a pitch of 1.5. The depth it's threaded to is 7 mil, because it's a blind hole. We don't want to drop a thread right down to the bottom, so we might break the tap. Okay, you can do another one of those dimensions, those buttons that goes here, and you've got similar dimensions that are related to the M4 hole there. Okay, right, let's see what else we're going to put in. So I've got some circular holes that drop right through here, but I can't really tell they're circular from that view. Can I guess if I look at this, the plan view, I could say they're circular. But a good thing to do if it's an object that's circular is to put in a center line. So I'm going to use my edge-to-edge center line, and I'm going to drop a center line in the middle of each of these little screw holes that goes in. If you need to zoom in a bit, do so, that's fine. I'm going to put dimension lines into these pieces by here. Okay, that's center lines, sorry, going in dimension lines, what I'm saying there. 1, 2, okay, so put center lines in all your vertical shapes. Just so happens that it's given me centers for these. If you haven't got centers on your circles, you can put them in with a center mark as well. You click on the middle, it draws you a little cross in the middle. Okay, so we need to dimension that up fully. Now let's see what else we've got, because we've got a bit of spare space on this side of the drawing. So I'm going to go to my insert view, and I'm going to look at the isometric view that I get of this object. There's my isometric view, look. Now, if it's slightly too big, which I think probably it is to fit in that part by there, or is it? No, we'll leave it one to one size. So I'm going to drop that view in on the page, and now what I'm going to do is click on that view, show hide, and I'm going to show a shaded view of that object. So that's my isometric view. Let's label that up as an isometric view. Here we go, ISOMETRIC view. Okay, so I've got isometric view, 3 orthographic views, one is a sectional view, and I've got dimensions added, and center lines, and hidden detail. So see how you get on with that.